Hey guys, it's Scott here with another guide. This time it's going to be about spacing, which is arguably one of the most important things in a fighting game. Dark Souls is not exactly, a competitive fighting game like Street Fighter or something like that. However, the same concepts do apply in 1v1 fights, so this stuff is actually really important if you want to improve. In a nutshell, spacing is the art of controlling the distance between you and your opponent in such a way that it becomes advantageous. In Dark Souls, this mostly boils down to punishing attacks that just barely miss, while not wasting time and stamina on rolling or blocking. Now, before you can understand exactly how to space in this game, you need to understand how the game actually represents two players' positions on each other's screens. Now, because this is a peer-to-peer game, it can vary a lot, but I've said this in a previous video and I'll say it again in this video. If you just play with the mindset that your position is actually where you were about like half a second ago, that's the main concept you need to carry throughout the game. So what I mean by that is, if you were, in range of an opponent and then you run out of range, but it took, a half a second for you to get out of range, you're still going to get hit because your opponent still sees you in range on his screen. Whereas conversely, if you run into range, you're not going to get hit because a half a second ago you were not in range of your opponent's attack. So this is like the key concept to understanding how to space properly. Now, what I just said might be a little unclear, so here's a visual example. So here my opponent charges an R2 and I run directly into the attack, but I don't get hit. In fact, the sword goes through my chest. Now, let this green outline indicate basically where my opponent actually sees me. Because I'm moving forward, the position is not quite synced up yet. So on my opponent's screen, even though it looks like I'm getting hit, he's actually not hitting me, he's whiffing me because I actually appear to be right here. So even though it looks like I'm actually running directly through a giant flaming sword, I'm actually not on his screen, and what he sees is all that matters in terms of being attacked. So here's another example, and this only works when you're running into an attack. You have to remember that. So here I run directly into the swing of the attack, completely in range that should have hit me, but because my position is not synced up, I'm not actually here yet. I haven't actually gotten in range of the attack on my opponent's screen. This is the basic concept around really good spacing. You need to exactly know that tiny sweet spot of time that you have to run into an attack while also not getting hit. Unfortunately, that window that you do have is extremely small, and the only way to learn it really well is to just not roll against a bunch of attacks and see what hits you and see what doesn't hit you. It's going to cost you a lot of wins, you're going to die a lot, but this is the only way to learn the exact timing and hitboxes of weapons, is just trying to dodge them without rolling. It's the only way to do it. You're going to die a lot. If you're not okay with that, then, just don't bother, but you're going to have to die a lot to practice this kind of stuff. So knowing that moving into attacks is much safer than moving away from attacks due to how netcode and latency works, there are certain ways to bait an opponent into doing what you want him to do. So one of the techniques I use a lot is a lot of forward and backwards movement. Left and right movement is really not that important. It's all about the forward and backwards movement. So while you move forward, you create the impression on your opponent that you're coming in for an attack, so he's probably going to try to swing. Whereas if you immediately move backwards, it's going to make him come back down. But the problem is, due to positional desync, he might still see you moving forward on his screen, so he's going to think, okay, he's about to come in range if this straight line keeps following the path that it's going at, so now I'm going to swing. Except by that time, you're already moving backwards, he just hasn't seen that happen yet. So while you're moving backwards, he swings, then you move forward again and punish his miss. Another thing you have to do to space properly is be very confident with your timing, meaning you need to actually initiate an attack while there's an attack coming at you that seems like it's going to hit you, but it's not. Here's an example of what I mean. So here my opponent's making a swing, and before he's even halfway done with his animation, I'm already moving in, because I know my position is not going to be synced properly, so I can safely move in against this attack, and I'm confident that it's not going to hit me. So knowing that, I move in while he's already attacking, and I attack while he's attacking. Unfortunately, recovery in Dark Souls 3 is so low that you need to hit people as they're attacking, so by the time your animation finishes, they're just finishing their animation. So you need to be able to attack while they're attacking and know you're not going to actually get hit by the attack. A common objection people have to spacing in this game is that, oh, the fights are so laggy, it doesn't actually matter. So that is just not true. Even against a really laggy opponent, the same principle applies, but instead of, being a half a second behind, you're like a full second behind. So that still means if you're out of range a full second ago when you run into an attack, you're still not going to get hit. Nothing changes except the initial delay. However, this does mean you shouldn't try to space attacks by running away from them, only by running into them. That is the only safe way in any Souls game to ever try to space an attack. running away is not a good idea, because if desync, you might actually end up getting hit. Rolling is always the safer option when you're running away from a player. But again, running into a player, it's pretty safe once you get the hang of it. So that's it for this basic guide on spacing, and there's definitely a lot more to it. I just wanted to lay the groundwork first before I did, like, you know, a more in-depth video. There's definitely a lot more you can do. You know, when you see two players running around in circles like idiots, it's not to look stupid. It's actually, there's actually a purpose of these stupid movements, so there's definitely a lot more to it, but that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I unfortunately read all of my YouTube comments because I'm an idiot, and I'll try to get back to you. So thanks for watching, guys. Take it easy.